Thank you for letting us speak to you today. And we're here today to let you know about how Sunderland CCG introduced point-of-care CRP testing into a real-world GP setting with the aim of supporting antimicrobial prescribing behaviour change. Sunderland is situated in the northeast, which is a region known to have a high overall usage of antimicrobials. Feedback from GPs within Sunderland highlighted in particular the challenge of entrenched behaviour and attitudes of patients around antibiotic prescription expectation. So to explore if point-of-care testing could support GPs in overcoming this attitude, we conducted a pilot in 4 practices. The 4 practices ranged from a one single-handed GP to a practice that was dual-sited. And we tested from November 2016 to March 2017, testing in lower respiratory tract infections. We plan to tell you about one of our practices that was involved in the pilot. It's Dr. Choi and Partners. They're situated in an area of high deprivation with previous heavy industry such as coal mining and shipbuilding, and were consistently one of the outliers on antimicrobial prescribing. To increase engagement as part of the pilot, we asked for a meeting with representatives from the practices, and we had GPs, healthcare assistants, practice nurses, and this was attended by suppliers of the point-of-care CRP testing analyzers. After demonstration, the practices decided to choose, based on sample size and speed of test, the Elia Affinon AS100, which I think we've had talked about this morning. Feedback from our pilot practices over the period was that the biggest challenge was integrating the test into the patient 10-minute appointment pathway. But Dr. Choi's practice were already on board with this before the pilot went ahead, and they already had their pathway sorted out. So they had decided that the patient would consult with the GP, and if they decided that a CRP test was required, they would give them a leaflet to read explaining about the test, refer them on to the healthcare assistant who would carry out the test. Then the results would be given back to the doctor via message, and the GP would then decide what was the best course of action. At the end of the pilot, all practices demonstrate a reduction in antibiotic prescribing compared to the same period in the previous year. But the greatest reduction we've seen was those practices which had got good integration in the patient appointment pathway, and those with good engagement from all the practice team. Hence, we have Dr. Choi's practice here, so we have support with a healthcare assistant, Dr. McKinnon, and a practice manager. It was key that everybody was involved. We thought that as part of the pilot was about patient perception and patient behaviour, we developed a leaflet to explain the testing to them, and after the test we asked them to complete a patient feedback questionnaire. 93% of patients who completed the questionnaire at the end found the leaflet very helpful. And feedback also demonstrated that 95% of patients were happy with the prescribing decision, despite only 16% receiving a prescription for antibiotics. At Dr. Choi's practice, 100% found the test very useful. Dr. McKinnon commented that they felt that the pilot had been useful in supporting a change in behaviour and giving prescribers the confidence to reduce antibiotic prescribing where appropriate. And one patient commented, "I was happy with the service provided. The process ensured that I was not paying for a prescription for antibiotics that would not have been effective."
So following the pilot, the question then was how we were going to take the work forward in the CCG. And what we found was that feedback from our GP practices highlighted that once in use, the confidence in prescribing decisions around antimicrobials really did increase, but they felt that it was a ceiling effect, and it was likely this newly acquired confidence would persist without actually having continued access to the analyzer, diagnostic equipment. So as a result, we've initiated a programme of relocating the machines into new practices every 6 months. So we've purchased the 6 machines, and we hope that this will be sufficient to embed behaviour change and allow maximum access to the diagnostic technology across all 40 of our practices in Sunderland CCG. But at the same time, the design of the programme is such that we're limiting the financial burden to the CCG. We also currently fund a defined number of testing cartridges per month, and that's based on average usage from the pilot. One of the reasons for doing so is that feedback from GP practices after the pilot was that they found that the cost of the tests would be quite restrictive on an ongoing basis, and they felt that really funding was required for them to be able to run that in their practices. We also fund one quality control solution per month as per quality control measures for that. So that just highlights there the way that we move the machines around. So the evaluation of this novel approach with our pilot practices so far has been very encouraging, and we just finished our second 6 months cycle and are moving on to the third now. Dr. Choi's practice continues to reduce their antibiotic prescribing, and this is despite the fact that they haven't had an analyser in their practice now for 12 months since the end of the pilot, and also despite the onslaught of the beast from the east in the northeast of England and across the country, and the inevitable impact on antibiotic prescribing across the UK. The overall prescribing data for the financial year April 2017 to March 2018 shows a 29% reduction compared to the previous year. At the end of March 2017, the overall antibiotic volume in Dr. Choi's practice, as an example, was 1.364 antibiotic items per star PU. At the end of March 18, this is down to 0.971. So we're nearly reaching the newly stretched NHS England quality premium target in that practice. And just to give you an idea, prior to the pilot, this had been 1.454 antibiotic items per star PU at the end of March 16. So as we've said, we're continuing with the strategy. The findings from the next cohort of practices demonstrate comparable decreases in their antimicrobial prescribing and also similar positive feedback from patients. The other practices in the pilot also shown a sustained reduction in their overall antibiotic prescribing once the analyser has been removed. So that's sort of a year-on-year effect. And if you have any sort of questions for us outside of this arena as well, we'd be happy for you to contact us at sunccg.mo@nhs.net.